We're going to begin in Mirz Hashem, Masechet Ketuvot, Daf Beis Amud Aleph. The Mishnah says, "Besula nises liyom haravi." A besula who's never been married before, be married on Leil Ravi, going into Yom Chamish, the night, the eve of the fifth day of the week, meaning Wednesday night. Valmona liyom hachamish. And a woman who's been married before should be married on Thursday night, going into Friday. So we have Wednesday night going into Thursday, Thursday night going into Friday. And of course, the Mishnah is going to try to explain why. Shepa'amayim b'Shabbos, but they dinim yoshrim bayoros, b'yom hasheni, b'yom hachamish. So in the major cities, the urban centers in Israel, Beis Din would be kavua on Mondays and Thursdays. Now, we'll see that there are other possibilities, either earlier in history or later in history, when Beis Din was kavua on every single day of the week. But during the period of time of the Mishnah, as addressed here, the Beis Din was kavua on Mondays and Thursdays. So why is it important that he get married on the night before Yeshiva's Beis Din, meaning on Wednesday night before Thursday? Shem hoyelo tainis pesulin hoya mashkim leBeis Din. That if he had a relationship with her after the marriage and he found that she's not a besula, again, there's going to be long discussions about how he knows that she wasn't a besula, whether there was no dam or pesach pesuach matzasi. And we want to facilitate his going immediately to Beis Din as soon as possible. Again, there's no Beis Din at night, but the night before the yeshiva's Beis Din in the morning, he's still very, sehitzt, as we say. She's very, hot about it, very upset about it, to find that he married her b'cheskas psula and she turned out to be a ba'ula. We want to get him into Beis Din so that, as Rashi says, we'll send out a call. We'll try to figure out if during the last 12 months period of Erison, when she was b'beis avia, maybe she had a relationship with someone. And then she can no longer live with her husband. So Beis Din wants to get involved here in this case of Tainis Pesulin. And if we wait too long between the night of Be'ila Rishona and the Yeshiva's Beis Din, he may cool off. He may forget about it. Okay, fine. So whatever happened, happened. He's happy with the marriage. He wants to go on in life, and he won't even bother showing up into Beis Din. Now, the big question is going to be, why not get married on a Sunday night? Since Beis Din is kavua, they convene on Monday morning. So that's something that we'll Mirz Hashem approach as we get to. Now, the Lashon HaMishnah here of Haya Mashkim, he was Mashkim, in the past tense, is a little bit strange. But the Shita Mukubetas here in Ksubit says that B'zman Hazeh, Beis Din Einim Yoshvim B'Sheni V'Chamishi Dafka, Shuv B'Tela Takonis Chachamim, V'Yishin Niseis B'Chol Yom. So that the Mishnah deliberately uses the past tense because in the present already Beis Din would convene every day of the week, and therefore she can get married at any day of the week. Now, in event that Beis Din could not clarify and establish that she had another relationship during that Erison period, then we have what's called a sfek. We can be mater him to her with the following two sfekas. Sufik number one, maybe if she had a be'ila, it was before the Erison period. And even if I grant you on the second tad lechumra of that suffix that she had be'ila tachto, meaning after Erison, but nevertheless it might have been ba'onis. And if we're not dealing with an Ashes Kohen, then she's muteres labaila because onus does not generate an isur tuma labaila. Gemara asks the following. Omar Rav Yosef, Omar Rav Yehuda Mishmuel, Mipnei Ma Omru, Besula Nises Liyom Haravi. And Shmuel explains the following. Why do we exclude Yom Rishon? Lefisha Shaninu, since we learned later on in a Mishnah Daf Nun Zayin, that from the time that the Chassan invites the Kala to prepare for the wedding, that's called Yom Tviyah. So we give her 12 months to prepare for the chuppah. In the case of an almana, we give her 30 days. Igias man v'lo nisu, if they did not get married after the 12-month or 30-day period passed, then assuming he was at fault, and we'll discuss why he dilly-dallied, then ochlos mishalo, the Baal is chayiv b'mizonos, as if he had already married her. Mizonos is a chiyuv within the framework of ksuba that is chal with nisuin. He hasn't married her, he didn't take her into the chuppah, but he was guilty and negligent and responsible for delaying the marriage, and therefore he has to support her as if she was already nesua. And if she's a bas Cohen who's getting married to a Cohen, if she's a bas Yisrael who's getting married to a Cohen, then ochlos betru. Now, this is based on the analysis of Ula later on in Daf Nun Zayin Amud Beis, that Minatorah already with Erison, a bas Yisrael should eat truma because she's considered kinyan kaspo. However, the Chachamim made a that she shouldn't eat truma until after the Nesuin. And in this case, where Igias man v'lo nisu, the Rabbanan suspended the gzera, and she can eat truma with Hagos man. Yachol, I might think Igias man biyom echad, a malalom zonos. If the termination of the 12-month period, in the case of a Basula, was on any day of the week, then we understand that Biechad Mishar Yemes Hashana, Eno Chayev Bizonosera, Shari Edo Yochel Liso Som, the Oso Yomi Mitakanis Chacham, Mafigia Zmana Nesum Yom Rishon, Ayisi Omer Sheyachol Sheyischayv B'Mizonosera, Shekem Lefitama Mishnah Shoni B'Mishnah, Yochel Lisab Af B'Yom Rishon, Sheyla Mochras, B'Bezdin Yoshua, Yoros Lekach Shanida B'Tzula Nisais L'Yom Aravi, V'Lo B'Yom Arishon. So the Gemara is a little bit strange in its logical structure, but if we'll draw the general sketches, the outline of the Gemara's approach is, Gemara is saying that with regard to Hagos Man, which normally engenders a Chiv Mizonos if he is Ma'akiv, this does not apply on Yom Rishon. And the reason for that is because really on any other day of the week, it's Pshita that if Hagos Man and Nesuin, he's not Chayiv Mizonos because it's not his fault. He's not guilty or negligent in delaying the marriage. He has to wait until the day which the Chachamim designated for Nesuin of a Besula. We'll see exactly what day that is. We know from the Mishnah that it's Leil Revi, but if, let's say, Hagos Man was on a Monday, so you can't fault him for not marrying her. He's not allowed to marry her until Wednesday. But if, for example, Hagos Man fell out on a Sunday, then I would argue at that point, if he dilly-dallies and he delays the Nesuin, the Chuppah, then he could be paying Mizonos. Because according to the logic of the Mishnah, Sunday is a wonderful choice for marriage and chuppah because the next day there'll be a bezdin. And therefore, the Mishnah tells me no, that do in Nisais Liyom Arvi and not Biyom Rishon. So therefore, if he gives man Biyom Rishon, he's not Chayiv Mizonos, he has to push off the chuppah until Yom Arvi. There's something missing here in the logic, as the Gemara says now, Omer Rav Yosef, Ori Davram, the Adon of Avram, that's a lashon of Ema. Ribono shel olam, he say, Toli Tanya b'lo Tanya. Shmuel is interpreting a Mishnah that's explicit, by explaining it through a Mishnah that's not explicit. It doesn't make any sense. It should be the other way around. The Gemara asks, "Hi Tanya, hi Lo Tanya, ha Tanya, ha Tanya." I don't understand exactly the language that Rav Yosef employs here in his objection to Shmuel. We have two Mishnayos. It's not that there's one Mishnah that we learned and one Mishnah that we didn't learn. Ella, but let's reformulate the question, the objection of Rav Yosef. Toli Tanya the Farish time, but the Tanya the Loma Farish time. Our Mishnah tells us exactly why she's not married on any other day of the week except Yom Ravi. The Mishnah later on, when it discusses Hadbazman, it doesn't explain the time. And therefore, Rav Yosef's objection to Shmuel is if we want to figure out why there's no marriage on Yom Rishon as there is on Yom Ravi, so you're going to tell me the answer is written and implicit, inherent in the Mishnah of Higias Man V'lo Nisu, that Mishnah doesn't tell us any reason, any explanation as to why you don't get married on Yom Rishon, only on Yom Ravi. Ella, but rather, says Rav Yosef, if the words were transmitted from Shmuel, Yitmar Hachim, and these are the proper words that we should be transmitting. It's very important to transmit a halacha in the precise way it was meant to say, it was meant to be formulated and projected. Omer Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shmuel, Mipnei Ma Omer B'Sulin, says Yom Rav Yishem Ayolo Tanis B'Sulin Ayamashkin L'Bez V'Ti Nosei V'Echad B'Shabes. Shmuel was asking why not get married on a Sunday. Shemayolo Tanis B'Sulin Mashkin L'Bez, and he could go the next morning to Bezdin on Monday morning. And the answer is going to be supplied by a price, which the Gemara is going to quote here on Daf Gimel and Beis, Shaktu. Shaktu means the Chachamim found a certain pressing urgency, Shaktu. And they stood up to take a vote. Shaktu Chacham al Takanos Benos Yisrael She'torech B'Seuda Shlosha Yomin Echad B'Shabbos Sheni B'Shabbos Shlishi B'Shabbos Revi Konsa. Chachamim wanted to guarantee that the groom, the chassan, would fulfill his obligation vis-a-vis the kala to create a lavish banquet at the wedding after the chuppah, and he should be toreach at least 3 days before the chuppah. And we want to avoid Shabbos, so we're going to start counting this 3-day period after Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday he can bring her into the chuppah. He's got 3 full days to dedicate to preparing the Suda. And if he would prepare it before Shabbos, we're afraid that they didn't have refrigeration like we have today, the food would spoil. The Akshav Cheshaninu Shaktu, now that the Chachamim made this takon of Shaktu, which includes getting married on a Sunday, Osa Sheshaninu Igiyaz Man V'lo Nisolchos V'Shlavos B'Truma Igiyaz Man B'Yom Echad B'Shabbos B'Tok Shani Yochel Lichnos. Now that we have the takon of Shaktu, if we only had the takon of Bezdin the night before Bezdin, then Sunday night would have been a great candidacy. But since we have another explanation, another factor and variable into the equation, namely Shaktu, that excludes Sunday because we need those 3 days to postpone the chuppah so that he can dedicate those days to prepare for the Suda. Now Rav Yosef wants to derive some new chiduchim, halachic implications from the statement of Shmuel. Allahu o cholsahi o shapirsa nida eno ma'ala mizonos. Shmuel was machadish, says Rav Yosef, that if the Nisuin period, the 12-month period, ends on a day in which the Baal cannot take her into the chuppah because of circumstances way beyond his control, he is onus because of the takonas chachamim that he can only marry her on a Wednesday, then there may be other explanations or reasons that the Baal will delay the marriage that are not totally in him. It's not his negligence. So the halacha of ma'ala mizonos is conditional on a certain element of knas, of negligence, of his postponing the wedding. But chola, who, if he became sick, Nebuch, let's say he's laid up in a hospital. Oh, cholsa, she became sick, or she became a nida. And within the context of Tumas Nida, he's not going to want to take her into the chuppah, or perhaps the Ran points out it might even not be even a valid chuppah. So you can't tell me you should marry her on that day. Einam ala mazonos, he's onus. He doesn't have the status of someone who's ma'akev the marriage, and if he doesn't have to suffer the penalty of supporting her. The Ika de boy lemi boy. Others in the yeshiva had a suffix, they vacillated back and forth on that din that was simple in the mind of Rabbi Yosef. Chola who Mao. Is he chayv mizonos if he took ill? He is onus in the fact that he cannot marry her now, but perhaps it's his illness. So he is in effect, not deliberately, but he is the cause of postponing the wedding beyond the 12-month period. Because Hassam time in the case of Higiyazman, the 12-month period ended on a Sunday. Time why? This will say he's part of his own speech from the honest. Achinami onus. Here too, it's not a deliberate delay on his part. The circumstance, mitigating circumstance. Or Dilma, should we say no? We can differentiate between two categories of onus. Hassam, in the case of Higiyazman, Shabbos, honest, but the Rabbanan never established that on a Sunday at the end of the 12 months, he's chayiv mizonos. They took into consideration the takana that Sunday is not the appropriate time for marriage. But in the case of chola, lo, he's not onus machmas takanas chacham. It's his chola. And maybe that's included in halacha of Higiyazman v'lo nisu, shechivu chacham l'halos mizonos. V'imtim salom, and if you say that chola who ma'ilol mizonos, because at least you can blame him as the ultimate cause of the delay. But cholsa hima, in this case, he's saying, "I'm ready, I'm willing, eager, ready to take you into the chuppah, but you have a problem because you cannot enter into the chuppah. You're laid up in a hospital room, and therefore, is he chayv mizonos in this case? Motzi Omerlo, he could claim in his own defense, I'm here ready to marry. Oh, Dilma, should we say no? To Motzi Omerlo, if there was a flood and it inundated a field in this mashal, then the owner of the field is going to suffer the loss, whether he likes it or not. That's called mazel gore. It's his mazel, his bad luck, that caused the inundation, the destruction of the field. And here too, she's turning to him and saying, "You're the one who ultimately caused the delay in the nisuin, even though I was the one who got sick. But it's all because of your bad luck, your mazel." And this is all based on the premise that the Torah obligates him to get married on the period of Arivia, but not her. A woman is not obligated in the period of Arivia. And therefore, she has a right to turn to him and say, "You're the cause." At the end of the day, although I got sick and I couldn't come to the chuppah, but nevertheless, you, through the Ashkach of Hashem, were responsible for the delay in the marriage. She does not have to suffer the loss of his owners at the end of the 12 months, even though she was a chola, because we say his field was inundated. Is Pirsaniya Nida Mao? What happens if she became a Nida at the end of the 12-month period? Is the Baal Chayiv Mizonos or not? And the Gemara now explains the reality of this suffix. She was Pirsa Nida B'Shas Vesta, and a woman who has a Veses, we can anticipate that she'll become a Nida on a certain day. Loti Boilach. In that case, there is no suffix.